Sarvadharmastapakastvam Sarvadharmaswarupaka Acharyanam Mahacharyo Ramakrishna Yate Namaha. Salutations to Ramakrishna, the teacher of teachers, who is the embodiment of all religions and who protects all religions. Good morning, everybody. And my sincere pranams and love to the nuns here and to you all. The topic for today's lecture is Ramakrishna, our goal. Ramakrishna says the goal of human life is to realize God. Or we can take God in its name of reality or truth or consciousness or infinity. There are, of course, who don't believe in God and don't believe in the soul and don't believe in liberation or reincarnation. But we are humans. We are goal-driven creatures. We have motivation. Some motivation ought to be there in people to strive for goals. The generality of people say, oh, let's eat and drink and be merry. There's nothing wrong with that. Like in Sanskrit, they say, ahar nidra bhayamaitanam samanayate pashura naranam. That eating, drinking, sleeping, sex and all, these are, common to human beings as well as animals. So what's the fundamental difference between human beings and animals? Dharmam tu tat adhiko vishesho. Dharma is that speciality. Religion is that speciality. That seeking for truth, that seeking for reality, that is what distinguishes us from animals and everything. And even animal lovers will take, you can say, offense at this. In some cases, animals are much better than humans. So there we are. Besides this pleasure seeking, we've been doing it for thousands of years. And by millions and millions of people. And it's been found to be a kind of a mirage. You don't get happiness, now you don't get pleasure. And we keep on, they say, running around these illusions. This pleasure seeking, as we like to keep our bodies and minds comfortable, has spawned exploitation, crime, substance abuse, the works. I don't need to enumerate this. And when people, a lot of people are still suffering from hunger and poverty, you invite derision by saying that I'm going to have a little pleasure in this world. Yeah. Can't you think of others? So here we are, some of the goals I'll enumerate. There are some, as usual, they like to go to a place called heaven. That's the goal. Not a bad goal. There are some who like to make this world a better place. There are some who like to, now with the pressures of climate change and all these things, they like to leave this planet and go to some place else. In the latest issue of National Geographic, we are not alone. We can somehow go somewhere nearby and start over all again. There we are. There are those who want a little peace. Everybody is seeking peace in everything. And this is, you can say, ingrained in us. We like peace. We are peace-loving people all over the world. Of course, there are some madmen. There are some who strive for perfection. And that also is ingrained in us. We seek perfection in anything we do. A carpenter, a lawyer, a doctor, anyone. He seeks to perfect his skills, perfect his knowledge. And that is what we keep on striving for. We are motivated to actualize these goals. And if you find somebody who's without any goals, please be careful. Beware, stay away from such people. The rest of us, we don't know what's life. Forget goals. So what's the goal of life? What's life? But then we can pin our goals, whatever you like to. We've been here around about 150,000 years, because Homo sapiens, wise man, that's what it means. It's a subspecies, and we've been around here, and for all these thousands of years, we've learned to survive, and we've tailored ourselves, we've molded ourselves according to different environments. When you see the different world cultures and religions and philosophies, we have been redesigning and redefining ourselves. And that's the beauty of human life. There are some people who like to level everything off and say everyone should be alike. Imagine if everyone was alike, if thought alike and ate alike and stayed alive. That would be a bad place. So we need this diversity. Every one of us is constantly redefining ourselves. What we were yesterday, we'd like to be somebody better today. We've changed attitudes, changed our behavior, changed our thought patterns, and that's being human. Today's humanity is more comfortable with rational lines of thought. We simply don't do things on an impulse. And that's the reason why anything put rationally in front of a person, there's a big chance that he'll accept it. And that's the reason why old religious values are despised, rather. Fanaticism is despised, because there's something that takes you, impels you, and you behave irrationally. And after a while, you try to understand, why did I do that? And then you cogitate, and then you say, no, that was wrong. So we are more comfortable today with rational lines of thought and actions. Humanity today is more cognitively developed. And this is, I mean, you can see it from technology, how we are inventing things. amazing. In humans, they are, you can say, characterized as this brain, and in the brain, you have the prefrontal cortex. That is the master. So here we are, guided by our prefrontal cortex, more than our limbic systems, which tries to throw us off balance. In everything we do, everything in today's world, we need to have attention. We need to have concentration. Whether it's a religious duty or a secular work or anything, we need to be concentrated. And this is one of the big problems today. Attention deficit syndromes all over the ADHD. Of course, they say that it's overdiagnosed. Any person, any child with a little restlessness finished, they're gone. And they've got to go on medication. Why? That's restlessness, that's natural when a child is beginning to explore the world around, learning social skills. But no, he's too restless and he needs to be under medication. There, finished. But yes, our attention span is a big problem. We've not been able to increase that. As you keep on practicing meditation, you enhance your attention span. You can get more and more. You can sit deep and profound. Today, we are networked. And as we know, this is one big problem with privacy. All our data has been out in the marketplace, there. And they make money out of it. Who knew somebody like me could make a little money with the information that I have? Oh, really? But we are networked. We are dragged into it and by it, whether we like it or no, there we are. You may blame the big corporations. They are doing just exactly what they want. Make money. And they drag you in this net of information. All this networking and all this cognitive development is increasing our consciousness. And humanity, whether it is evolution that is pushing our consciousness to a higher level or no, we do not know. But one thing is certain, that the scriptures on yoga, they wanted such people. Highly cognitive, rational, with a broad sense of consciousness and an attention span. So they were looking out for us. And here we are, getting ready for the next step. If there's a proliferation of yoga schools all over the place, different types of yoga, Hatha yoga, pranayama, whatever, there is a need. That itself should tell you there's something big going on here. You just don't criticize, oh, that's wrong, or that's wrong. Yeah, but then there's a need for all these things. And here we are. Where does this need arise from? Even people who have not heard about these practices a few years ago, they are into it. And they are getting benefited. What's drawing them? This is, as I say, the burden of our talk. Every time, yesterday we were discussing, we had a small group of devotees and we were talking about the word and logos. And it was an interesting evening and an interesting conversation. But I failed to mention something there which was very pertinent, and that is, all of us embody the logos, the word. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This logos, the old Greek idea of, you can say, perfection, is embodied by everyone. And this was later taken up by Christianity, as we know, from the Bible of St. John. And Western civilization was built on these principles of Christianity, the morality, the ethics, the religion. It's like when you say a person is innocent until proven guilty. There you have. Somehow the ideas of the logos has trickled down to all our institutions. We may not be aware of it. That a person, however degraded he or she may be, that person has something within himself or herself that transcends ordinary humanity. And that needs to be respected. So even the person is on death row, yes, he needs to be treated with dignity. And a thing which I failed to mention here last evening was, we embody that logos, each one of us, and we, through our speech, through our actions, through our thoughts, manifest that logos. Here we are. So there is an element in us which transcends our ordinary workaday life. We intuit it, not clearly. You bring in the philosophy of yoga, then you understand, oh, this was what it is. Then you can hasten its development and its manifestation. And all saints and sages did what? They manifested the logos through their bodies and minds. We have, you can say, logos is something abstract, yet later on it will become concrete. One time, there was a devotee of Sri Ramakrishna, Bhavanath. He wanted to photograph Sri Ramakrishna. This is the photograph that we have finally got. He wanted to, and he was unwilling, as it depends on his mood. But Bhavanath went ahead with his plans, and he brought a photographer. In these old days, you had a huge contraption, the kind of a black cloth. You put it around the camera and yourself, and then you take all those plates. And they both entered Sri Ramakrishna's room. Sri Ramakrishna wasn't interested. He ambled out. And then in the meantime, Swami Vivekananda arrives. And he was told, we've got this photographer, and he's not ready yet. So just a moment. By the time Sri Ramakrishna had entered a temple courtyard, a kind of veranda of a Radhakanta temple, and Swami Vivekananda goes up to him and he starts talking about spiritual things, and Sri Ramakrishna goes into Samadhi. And then he calls out to Bhavanath and the photographer, now you... And the photographer, in the old days, they were perfectionists in a way. So there was his chin was slightly tilted. So he wanted to correct that tilt. And as he touched his chin, his whole body, like featherweight, it rose. And Swami Vivekananda shouted, what are you doing? Don't touch him in that state. Quickly click that photograph. And that's what he did. Later on, The photograph was shown to Sri Ramakrishna. He looked at it. This is the high yogic state. This form will be worshipped in every home and obviously in every heart. He has become the icon or the symbol of yoga. Here we are. Now, are we ready to attain that high yogic state which he is a symbol of, or no? It really doesn't matter, as long as you know that the logos, that perfection, the high consciousness, or the high state of yoga was now embodied in Ramakrishna. Now, are there other icons for yoga? Oh, we have, yes, Vivekananda. He himself. Then we have the Buddha. Somewhere deep down, these icons of meditative states are getting popular. The reason? Too much of external activity has almost destroyed us. We like to have someone now or something calm, quiet, introspective, and let that consciousness go within it. It has almost destroyed cultures and civilization. This external activity, this fighting and warring and shouting and killing, all this was nothing but the mind externalized. And like everything, there comes a reaction. You can go only so far. Then comes the reaction. This reaction in society and everywhere is nothing but trying to seek something now within. And this Ramakrishna, Vivekananda, Buddha have now become icons of what? Of humanity. But what are you doing? Sitting down quietly? Somehow we know that person who is sitting down with his eyes closed is plumbing the depths of the universe. No more, we don't need any kind of gore and bloodshed. And this is slowly, humanity is veering towards the inside world. That's a huge development. And as we know, this is the perfect condition for yoga to take roots. Once you've done all those, you've finished off with that? Yes. Now come back. Now come inside and see what's there inside. And we lead you now gradually to higher and higher realms. In fact, most of these Hindu gods and goddesses are either sitting down in a kind of a meditative posture, or you will say either in a meditative state. Somehow, these things are drawing us towards these meditative, quiet state. It's not a kind of a inactive, quiet state where you don't do anything. That person who meditates is intensely active. But the activity now is confined to the mind and in the internal world. Is this something new? No, for the last 3,500, 4,000 years, these practices have been in some form or the other in India. Patanjali, the author of the Yoga Sutras, he codified certain practices. That's all. And these practices have been experimented on by hundreds and hundreds of people, I would say thousands of people, down the ages. And any science or any doctrine or any philosophy, if it has to stand the truth, it has to be open to experimentation. And this is here. We may believe in certain things. Yoga says don't believe anything. Believe means you do not know. When you do not know, I believe in God. Yeah, sure? You do not know God. So there's the difference between knowledge and belief. Yoga starts with, you don't have to believe in anything. You commence. These are the practices. Go ahead. If you want to stop, stop. You want to go ahead. But it's open to experimentation. What is yoga? Yoga is chittavritti nirodha. Yoga is controlling the mind. Stuff from emerging as waves. Last time I had spoken about kind of a placid pool, and you throw a kind of a pebble and there you get a ripple. And if you have thousands of pebbles falling or rain, this is a kind of a rainy season, that pool is zipped into activity. That's the mind stuff. Why should we go about it at all? Why should we need to restrain ourselves? You need to. The very basis of society and culture or civilization or human life is restraint. You don't let go and do whatever you want. You cannot. The fabric of our lives and fabric of society is based on restraint. I may not like certain people or certain things, but I'm not going to go and smash those things down. Then you have these antisocials. You need to restrain yourself. You would like to go and punch that guy on the nose and there. But you restrain yourself. And what happens? The more you restrain yourself, the more you build power. If you just go and smash somebody's nose and get him to the hospital, you fritter away your energy, your mental energy. So the more you restrained you are, the more power you build up. And this is a process. Every thought, every word which is beneficent for oneself and for the world, do it. Whatever has got a dark side, don't do it. That's the reason for all these moral codes. They were not simply just for some God or some angel said, do it, I command you. There was a big reason why it was done. Now, I made a case for the high yogic state was experienced by Ramakrishna, and he kind of becomes like an icon for yoga and for this age. And this age is veering towards yoga. There's another proposition I'd like to place before you. In fact, Swami Vivekananda talks about it. What is an avatar? We think he's an avatar of this and an avatar of that and this. Oh. I'll read from his teachings. A perfect man, that is to say, the type that is to come of this race, perhaps millions of years hence, that man can come today. And this is what the yogis say, that all the great incarnations and prophets are such people, that they reach perfection in this one life. And we have such men at all periods of the world's history, at all times. Quite recently, there was such a man who lived the life of the whole human race and reached the end, even in this life. That man was Ramakrishna. When the child is in the fetus, the fetus goes through the whole evolutionary changes. that its race went through. A child is born, that child is like a savage. It will crush a butterfly under its feet. It goes through the evolution of its race. And as the child grows up, becomes socially skilled, he becomes integrated in society, keeps on that journey of thousands of years of civilization. And he comes to now, here we are. We have lived the entire life of our race in one lifetime. Please remember, you have gone through all these modifications. And it's there now. Thank God science is now coming out and showing all these things. But the difference between us and an avatar is, he too lives the life of his race, not only the life of the race, not my race, but the race, all races. In fact, he lives the life of the whole evolutionary cycle up till now, and he proceeds to the future. We stop here. That man or that woman who's supposed to come millions of years hence, that man or the woman appears as it were now. We are astounded. How come? How this person has manifested all these powers? And how come this person has become so pure? We know, like Vivekananda says, we know his parents, Christ's parents his father was supposedly a carpenter. A carpenter producing such a son? How is it possible? We know whose parents Buddha was. Buddha's parents were. He was just a small-time king. How come he could produce a son with half the world worships? But there they lived the life of the entire race, entire humanity, entire creation, and proceeded towards the goal of evolution. And this is what they embody, and this is what an avatar is. This is, people say, I'm an avatar of this. In India, it's quite common. Oh, he's an avatar of that, he's this and that. And it's like, you go down every street corner, you might find an avatar. It's common. Even here in America, that craze has caught up here also. He's an avatar. Oh, really? But has he lived the life of the whole creation? No. Then has he proceeded in the future where the whole of creation will proceed? No. Then he isn't an avatar. Simple as that. We, in our Vespers, we chant every day, let us look deep in our eyes. They are bright with the wisdom of God that can wake us from Maya's spell. Let us hold fast to thy feet, treading the waves of the world to safety. O drunk with love, God drunken lover, in thee all paths of all yogas meet. These words were written, the original Sanskrit was written by Swami Vivekananda. He understood this is something. In fact, he wasn't willing to accept Ramakrishna as a kind of an elevated soul initially. But later, as he developed in yoga, he understood that this is something tremendous. It has crossed all limits of, you can say, super consciousness. And there he was at Ramakrishna's feet. What is yoga again? We have seen restraining the mind stuff from taking various forms. So all these breathing exercises and these physical exercises and all these things, Are they part of yoga? In a way. Another thing is, we toss this word about called Samadhi. He isn't Samadhi. When I came here, I said, oh, he has attained Samadhi. I said, sure? Are you sure? Oh, yes, yes. Huh. We know Samadhi means you've got to die to attain Samadhi. Are you willing to die? Your body becomes dead. There's no life, or it's in an advanced stage of hibernation. While the body is dead, the mind soars into superconsciousness, and it is one with that reality. That is, externally you appear dead. Signs of death appear. There was a doctor who put his stethoscope on Ramakrishna's chest and found no heartbeat. Another friend of his, also a doctor, he put his finger in the eye, because that's the surest way to find out if there's a kind of dilation of the pupils or anything. There was no reaction. Ramakrishna's guru, he puts his disciple into a state of Samadhi, and then he sits down. And then he's saying he's not yet emerged. So he goes out of the room, sits down, waits 3 days and nights. He's waiting. He enters the room and he says, his disciple still sitting like a piece of, we can say, dead wood. He checks the signs. There's a science for this. It's signs for Samadhi. He checks him saying, this is what took me 40 years. He's done it in 3 days. 40 years his guru practiced intense meditation and he attained the high state, and he got it in 3 days here. Later on we find that he was in this state for 6 months. 6 months. His body was dead. Somehow a monk used to come and beat his body, try to get his mind down a little, and pour some milk or something in his mouth. And half the time it used to dribble out. That monk looked after the body of Ramakrishna. And in that state, generally it's 21 days. If the mind does not descend back to this body, it's over for you. And why bother coming back? What's there in this world? That person is experiencing tremendous joy, bliss, and he says the kind of a union with God. Sorry. Why bother in the world of Maya? So in that state, when he was there 6 months continuously, he receives a command from the Divine Mother, stay in Bhavamukha. Now what's Bhavamukha? It's a state between the relative and the absolute reality. He is a kind of a sentinel, a kind of a doorway where one can traverse from the relative to the absolute, and if you want to come down from the absolute to the relative. In fact, he received this 3 times. The Divine Mother says, stay in Bhavamukha. And his biographer talks about it. He realized fully that he was an avatar. It is there you realize you are an avatar. Not before that. Ever free. yet one who descends to help mankind. And this has occurred before many times. His yogic practices were meant to eradicate the encrustations and corruptions in religion in the present age. This spiritual current that would arise from him would raise humanity to a next level of spiritual evolution. Here we are. That he is now not just an icon, he is like kind of a doorway. The doorway to perfection. In the Bhagavad Gita, we find Sri Krishna telling his disciple Arjuna, this yoga, this imperishable yoga was given by me to the first, you can say, firstborn. Then he transmitted to the Ikshvaku, that's a king of the royal dynasty. And then he transmitted to the royal sages. And there we have a succession of this yoga tradition. Imam vivasvate yogam proktavan aham avyayam vivasvan manave praham mano ikshvaka. And he's saying, evam paramparam prapta. This tradition has been here since the beginning for a very, very long time. There have been encrustations and corruptions. And I have come to cleanse this old tradition once more and teach you this yoga meant for today. And the same can be said of Ramakrishna. He has come in this age to remove this kind of corruptions and deviations in the practices of yoga and make it burnished and keep it in front of us. And where is that? Is it separate from him? No. That yoga, the state of yoga, is within him. He, in that symbol, he manifests that purified form of yoga. So, we have this philosophy, this yoga practices. We have an icon. We have the doorway to the infinite. You look at this. Or you might have some hesitation. Why should I take Ramakrishna? Why not take Christ or Buddha or Shankara or anything? As we approach closer to him, apart from the cultural differentiations, cultural, you can say, mold that you were born and you thought, find that he represents the reality. And as human beings, we have been seeking for that reality through all these years of life. And as we approach him, you'll find the cultural, you can say, distinctions and barriers fall off. And here we are. That's why Sri Ramakrishna is called Yoga Sahai. He is a helper in yoga, as Vivekananda is. One time, Holy Mother was shown a picture of her, a photograph. And Ashutosh Mitra, he looked at it. Mother takes her picture and salutes it. So Ashutosh, he kind of bursts out laughing. He's saying, Mother, whose picture is this? Why, it's mine. Mother was a very simple, like a girl, just a little girl. Why, it's mine. So why did you salute it? Nobody goes and salutes their own picture. So he said, no, but I see Sri Ramakrishna in this. That's the reason why I saluted this picture. Really? Yes. And other times, when she was asked, does Ramakrishna dwell in his picture? Saying, yes, like the body and shadow, this is his likeness. And if mother says that he dwells in her picture too, the next time you lift your phone or a picture of yourself, when you look at yourself, remember that Ramakrishna is also there dwelling in you. And if you can understand that, you will also understand that we dwell in Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna dwells in us, we dwell in Ramakrishna. He is the goal, he is the path, he is the helper. He has been holding us like we are children stumbling about and leading us towards perfection. So whenever you see your picture, remember there's Ramakrishna inside, the goal within you. As the Atman, he dwells within. And whenever you see Ramakrishna's picture outside, you are there in that picture too. Because the goal of yoga is, I am this universe. This is the highest state. I am the universe. So in the universe, we are all included. Everything that is in the universe is established in this tiny frame. Apparently it's tiny. But like I said, as you approach him, kind of doors open and you enter into higher and higher realms of yoga. Then you know that Ramakrishna had come to deliver us from every evil superstition and delusions, lead us back to where we belong. Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.